a little gap.
And what a clutch game it was. You know, in China's standards, we normally expect at least 20 kills per game. In this one, we barely made it over half of it. 11 kills total, 6-5. This was such a tactical game with both teams trying to out-rotate, to outsmart each other constantly. And that's why the game took so long, right? Level 23-23 was our final result. This was a very, I would say, European, Western way of playing Sky Temple, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Very safe at the end. I will also say that this has made the scores very interesting.
Yes.
Due to the fact that if BTG can win again and get the 2-0, then even if the 1 and SPT go 1-1 with each other, they're only going to be 1 point behind CE. And if either of them 2-0s, they will tie with CE at the top of the table.
That is a very good point. So CE, they cannot afford to lose this game. If they do, as you said, the winner of the next best of 2 would basically draw even with them, sharing first place, and that would be a very curious scenario for us to be in. So CE, they need to get their act together. They need to basically pull off their A game, otherwise they risk losing everything they have worked so hard for. But I can't help but feel that it wasn't a drafting mistake this time. It was simply just them being a little bit too overconfident, maybe them not having enough means to deal with the Cocoon, which was such a good tool. Once again, what is our next battleground? It is going to be the Dragon Shire, ladies and gentlemen. It is CE who decides to go for first pick, first ban.
Yes, they do. So let's see if it works out for them. Perhaps maybe letting themselves pick the Medivh this time. See if they want to go down that route again. As we head in, like I said, with CE giving the map choice over to BTG, they are taking first pick and first ban for themselves. Let's see what they can make with it.
That is going to be very interesting. Now, beyond the game, can they pull it off? Can they pull off the big surprise? If they win this 2-0, I think they're actually going to overtake SOA, which would make them third place. Because Beyond the Game and SPT are sharing second.
Hang on. Well, it would make them fourth place, technically. Yeah, it would be third place, yeah, because they are tied. They're already now in third place, because they won one game, which means they are a minimum 1 point ahead of SOA. So BTG are currently already in third place. If they win another one, they still won't make it tied with the one in SPT, because they had a 3-point lead over BTG at the start of the day.
And that is basically the big resurgence of Beyond the Game. They used to be China's third seed last year when they participated at GCWC and BlizzCon. Then they fell into a slump. They weren't able to recover in time, and the one basically stole the show, qualifying for the first Eastern Clash in 2018. But now it seems to be Beyond the Game's time to reclaim what was once rightfully theirs. But of course, the one, they aren't sleeping. They have improved quite a lot themselves. We're going to watch them later in the game against SPT after this one. And the top 4 in China, they look so strong at the moment compared to each other. I think China has been increasing and improving so much as a competitive region amongst each other. Whether they can pull off that result against other regions, other teams at the mid-season brawl, that is, of course, a whole different topic.
They're going to have to find out as mid-season brawl approaches quickly. That will be in just over a month. That will be fun to see. As Sonya and Hanzo make it into the draft. Pretty solid here. Sonya is the solo laner, and Hanzo, put him in that bot lane. He's going to have a very good time. The scatter arrow and, of course, explosive arrow on this map can have a exceedingly useful effect in terms of winning that bottom lane.
All right, CE, what are they going to pull off? They rely on Malfurion yet again. Perhaps with the Twilight Dream this time, depending on what they face here. Twilight Dream also against the Sonya. The tool cannot be underestimated to prevent her from using any of her abilities to keep herself alive.
Hendrik, at this point, I think we need to give it up. They're not listening.
Twilight Dream doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's been removed. But no, it's still in there. It's just China seems to be very keen on the sanctification, which is very fair. It's a good ability. But tranquility, sorry, not sanctification. As we see the Malthael and the return of the Genji coming in. So round 2 for Alufal, and Zuyu this time being put on his Malthael. It has been very effective so far.
Has been very good. Of course, that also means that we're going to have a strong laner against Sonya on Dragonshire. The lane control is an aspect of your strategy that should never be neglected, right? If you maintain control over top and bottom lane at all given time, you're going to secure yourselves Dragon Knights, and that could be very helpful in your overall chances of success. Now, KTY's Junkrat seems something that Beyond the Game doesn't want to face again. Can't blame them, and Stukov gets eliminated there as well. No more top 2 supports available. Didn't really hurt Beyond the Game last game, to be honest, though.
Yeah, they seem pretty comfortable with what they ended up with. They seem... Beyond the Game seems to be one of the teams that just have such a good support pool, and that is mostly thanks to, of course, their support player, Druid.
Yeah, Druid, we mentioned this before the game started, one of the rising support stars in China. Improving his performance steadily, and that is, of course, a big reason why Beyond the Game was able to stabilize as a team and even get points here from teams like CE, which I personally wouldn't have considered to be possible. I thought CE would actually play this much more, how should I say, like much more elegantly, I think, and yeah, what can they do now? They need a main tank for wind. They still need another damage source, or they can even go double tank now, depending on what they want to do.
Noob and the Greymane coming in for BTG, so they are going with a very similar draft to last time.
Same draft.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it is.
It is the same draft, Tetra.
We did have Greymane, yeah. It is the exact same draft.
So they seem to feel very comfortable on the tools they get. Now, if they take a Regger inside, I think Regger was support last game, then there we go. We've got a Deja Vu on Dragonshire, and while I'm not a big fan of going for the same strategy, literally the exact same strategy, I think it works so well for Beyond the Game and the late game especially, that, as you said, if it ain't broke, no need to fix it. Now, this time around, though, they have Malthael in the mix, and Malthael, just like all poisonous / damage over time heroes, like a Gul'dan or Lunar, for example, is much more efficient at clearing cocoons, right? If you land that dot on the cocoon, it's going to expire much more quickly. Now, what else are they going to go for? Are we going to see a tank here? Maybe. Gar's not available. Maybe Diablo. Maybe the Varian. Okay.
There it is. And the Tychus. So solo tank Varian, and then Tychus as a second ranged damage. We've seen solo tank Varian work spectacularly well. We've also seen it less. But let's see if it
still not convinced. As much as I love my boy Varian, as much as I think he's the best hero in the game, I am not completely convinced of his solo tanking capabilities. Now, the only way for CE to pull this off, Uther here, by the way, very important tool to maybe keep those taunts in check, you know, with the cleanse and divine shield. So the way they need to play now, CE, that is, they need to win the early mid game. If they don't establish themselves in early Dragon Knight, if they don't pull ahead by a level or 2 even, then I think Varian is going to fall off after the mid late game, and their front lane is going to be non-existent, right? I think Anubrak can just dive in, Sony can just follow. Dragon's Heir will be crippling their combat efficiency so hard, so they need to win the early game. And quite frankly, Tetra, that's not something that CE was able to do in Game 1.
I would agree. They looked a little bit shaky, but they do have a very solid burst composition if they can land it. Divine Shield and Cleanse, though, Pan of Protection, the armor is going to be a problem. I would like to see Malthael. I think CE wanted to go for a burst comp. I would like to see them change that. Stick with Taunt, obviously, because Varian needs to not die.
Yeah.
But have Malthael go with Tormented Souls. I think that's going to be a much more reasonable time. Problem is, you're then going to get cocooned, which is why Tranquility might also be a viable choice this time, as much as I know you're going to be disappointed to hear. Just to be able to have both of them up and force the split between which one gets cocooned.
The thing is, Anubarak is so squishy. If he gets shut down by a silence, that could be a golden target for Genji to fall back on and get the resets galore going off here. But we're going to introduce the players once again with Beyond the Game. 619 on the Anubarak, LK on that Greymane, Druid on Uther, Dancing on Hanzo, and LLY on that Sonya.
And on the right, it is CE with a Lufel on Genji, Wind on Varian, 365 on Malfurion, KTY on the Tychus, and Zuyu is playing Malthael. So, just quickly, the other argument, because I do like Tormented Souls, The other argument is just to go straight for last rights anyway and just hope you can land it on split targets, because once you get that cooldown reduction in, Uther has no chance. Divine Shield just does not save you against that if you just get a big cooldown reduction onto that comment themselves.
You know what else doesn't work against last rights? It's armor. So raw percentage damage, Genji getting a huge value from that one Swift Strike here, hitting almost the entire enemy team. And already CE is posturing up and establishing mid-lane dominance. Every single member of Beyond the Game had to take a sip from the healing fountain. And that, of course, tells you so much if you're CE. That really allows you to go for those ganks, to get much value from them, to basically make sure that if you bring someone down to low HP now, they are going to have to back up for good.
Oh, hang on. There is a little bit of damage onto LLK, but Win tanking through as well, as he also gets counter-attacked a fair amount. Sonya left over quite unattended to begin with at the start of the game, but is now moving down to start on the Bruiser camp.
Alright, Lai and LLK going for that mercenary camp here, but so are 365 and Zuyu. Mouth actually being a real bro and absorbing most of the damage dealt here by those knights, although Zuyu, of course, has his own means of healing himself. The Innervate gets pumped into Malthael there as well, basically makes sure that the solo laner will be able to stay in lane for the most part, but actually Malthael isn't truly soloing at the moment. There's already a variant posturing up for a gank anytime soon.
Are we sure that Last Rites does percentage damage?
I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong about it. Not a Malthael main.
Does. Just due to the wording, I've not looked into it properly, as KTY is dropped down. That is going to be first blood going over.
So it is percentage damage, right?
No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
As
then I'll take that
it is damage equal to health, whereas another example being Seven-Sided Strike, as just quickly before we continue, BTG back and forth fight with CE. They're finally forced to retreat, but being able to just stay there after they'd already picked up the kill was kind of weird. But either way, they did still pick up the first blood, but now they are unfortunately under assault. But it is damage equal to their missing 50% of their missing health, or however it is stated. So I don't expect it is percentage damage.
Yeah, you may have a point. Anyways, the Dragon Knight here.
Dragon Knight.
Dragon Knight is being taken in the middle. So yeah, that is already a strong early game. And we talked about this, Tetcher. The early game needs to be CEs if they ever hope to achieve anything with the variant, because he falls off so rapidly in the late game. That's exactly what they're doing. They're going for tower after tower, which is basically safe experience. And that's exactly what they need. Taunt is here now at level 4, of course, ever since the rework from Varian. Going for the Lion's Maw, more burst damage, more slowing in particular. After completion, the slow is also going to linger for a longer period of time. Here goes the taunt. The roots are good as well. The minigun is shredding a Nubrek like he was made out of paper.
Dragon Knight even tries to punt, but not able to do so. And for now, we see the consistent clearing of the bottom lane. The gate's still alive, but that will not last long. Sonya this time did go for Hurricane, and Varian, interesting map to do this on in my opinion, is going for the Victory Rush.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I'm going to have to disagree with this talent choice. I think the Lionheart will probably be giving you more value, although Dragonshire is a rather small map. There's no neutral monsters where you can have cooldown reduction from. True, you're going to be pushing with minions quite a bit. However, the lack of targeted healing that you would get from Lionheart, or just the consistent healing from Second Wind, I think make this talent on Dragonshire at least to a slightly inferior choice. Of course, I would love to be proven wrong here. I would, even as a varied main myself, I would always love to see new input from players of a much higher skill level than myself. So, you know, let's see how much value Wind can get from the Victory Rush at level 7.
Sonya with Hurricane and Life Funnel, so going with the non-activatable healing. This is very much the enemy team has one form of interrupt. Two if you count. I don't think the grenade does interrupt Whirlwind actually. So yeah, so one form of interrupt currently in the form of Taunt. Two if we see Twilight Dream. meaning that Sonya's going to have a pretty good time just whirling through him with that 1 second cooldown reduction on Hurricane at level 4. She's going to be able to use it more often.
Exactly. That is why she goes for this very greedy spin-to-win build, but up to this point, I can't really disagree. Hanzo, by the way, going for a full scattering arrow build for maximum wave clear and mercenary clear speed. Of course, always a nice thing to have. And let's face it, against a solo tank variant, the armor reduction wouldn't make a lot of sense because he can still go for shield wall and get protected, by the way, anyway. So, let's see. Wave clear is pretty okay for CE here with a spray and pray for Tychus. Variant at level 10, what is he going to go for? Wind, traditionally speaking, has been favoring the Warbringer quite a lot. And against Sonya and Hanzo, to be honest, I think we could very well see another, and even Grayman as well, another Warbringer, because there's way more physical damage available for Beyond the Game right now than raw ability damage.
Yeah, and even going for a little bit of percentage damage as well could be good, but nobody's going for the shield wall. There is a fair amount of ability damage, so that protection is coming in. Attempted second Dragonite of the game for CE, as they do actually look for the channel, interrupted, but no one's taking even the shrine, so this is happening. The scatter arrow coming in just short on time, and the Dragonite, for the second time this game, is taken by CE. And we do see, by the way, last rites coming in for Malthael. No stacks for now, as the charge and the Dragonite, both of them imitate each other and follow the leaping combo.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I'm pretty sure that Cassia's charge and Variant's charge share the same mechanics from a game design point of view. So sometimes when you play Cassia or Variant respectively and you charge at a target that was getting punted away by the Dragonite, or like Genji, for example, is just swift striking to safety, you could go over crazy amounts of distance here, sometimes not always to your own benefit. So you got to be very careful on how to use it. However, the structural value that CE was able to establish here is already super strong. Destroying middle fort and bottom fort, excuse me, after only 6 minutes and 50 into the game is definitely a huge thing. Now look at that damage though. Trading 1-for-1, Variant is already furiously taunting Uther, his alliance buddy. The X-Strike missing. The auto attacks do what the X-Strike couldn't do though. And CE is in full chase command.
Luca with also the world's smallest jump over that tiny wall there, looking for another pickup. Cocoon is used, and as such, Variant not able to lock anyone else down, so no more kills will be picked up. But it's 2 for 1, and stacks were gained. This is literally so much more value for CE.
Alright, I'm not exactly sure why KTY decided to use the Odin here. Probably wanted to go for additional sieging, additional wave clearing. He's trying to get as much value from those AoE abilities as possible. Here goes the taunt again. Variant is free again from the Cocoon. And is trying to avenge himself against the Beetle. This time they actually destroy the wall pieces. Very important thing to do. If you watch game number 1, then you know exactly why.
I mean, the wall pieces obviously have their value, especially in games like this, where they can help Variant, they can actually help Genji for someone to leap over the body box of the enemy as they move in. Dragon Arrow from point blank range. Fury gets blown up by Greymane, doing what he does best. There's Wind, also taking a lot of damage as LLK is turning this fight shield wall, keeping Variant alive. In comes Genji looking for the turnaround. Instead, Genji might have just signed his own death warrant.
Zuya, abandon your teammate. There's nothing you can do to save Alufal. He's got lightning reflexes though, using Swift Strike in the best possible angle and cyber agility over the wall. He gets stunned again. 619 is here to take the kill that was promised him, but Alufal is escaping thanks to the cooldown reduction on his 13 baby. What a run.
Alufal takes the pound of flesh that 619 was looking to take and shoves it right back into his own body as he's able to port back to base, surviving that kind of engage. That was so close. That's about a millisecond. Whose ability goes off first? In theory, a noob should win that. His Q should activate in time to interrupt the dash before it can come off. The instant abilities, the noob has the advantage of having time to set up. But in this case, Genji was just too fast.
And you know what? That feels offline, man. That feels a studio environment. Of course, these players are playing with the best ping available, with LAN ping close to 0 MS. So yeah, I think in an online environment, maybe those moves weren't really that easy to pull off, right? So really cool to see how flashy Lupul can sometimes look, driving our observer crazy. Now Wind in trouble, gets stunned again, protected by the way. Strong healing, strong protection. In the meantime, Zuya on the top lane getting massive value, pushing with her own mercenary camp, getting the top fort as well. Genji continues to distract enemies in the middle. Round 2, baby. Here we go.
Round 2. No one is here. No one is in position. Look, just land the impale. That's all you need to do.
Oh.
He goes for the burrow and X-Strike. You're supposed to chain your CC, but Luful gets out once again. Lucky man as in comes Zuyu. In comes Barrier. They're looking for it. The Divine Shield was good. That's going to prevent the last fight at least. As Anu comes back in, Ice Block 365 protecting himself there. Down goes Anu. And Malthael is chasing down member after member. LLK barely survives, but Dancing makes his way out over the wall.
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope somebody clipped that, because that is the reason why you sometimes go for full XD mode. You go X-Strike. No other heroic ability could have saved him there in that situation. Dragon Blade would have not done the job, but X-Strike could. And as such, Luful wins the game against Anub'arak in a 2-0 score. Let's see if we're going to see any more cocoons onto Genji, because at this point, 619 must be furious about how those events turned out.
Lai escaped, but mission was accomplished, making himself one of the most delicious of tablet-based delay tic-tacs, as he was able to hold the Dragon Knight off in time for his team to respawn. This is going to allow them to defend a little bit better, as he was able to recap the bot, at least for a little bit.
Now, how much are they willing to commit to this middle push? Luful, although he has been proving to be an elusive target, is brought super low, just like Lai on that Sonya, by the way. He's going to have to bounce back for now. He needs to wait for a little bit of healing, just like Genji. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he's screaming to Malfurion right now. But the middle keep is taking damage. Here goes Genji back in at 619, brought to 50%.
That's pretty good. Just once again, when this Dragon Knight pops, guess who's in it? It's Malthael, and he's already got, I'm pretty sure, 2 stacks, as he was able to pick up a kill earlier, so his cooldown will probably be back by now. From Greymane, a nice fire breath right at the end as they turn it round. Zuyu begins to get that lovely AoE damage and that lovely damage over time, but nice Divine Shield. This time, but Divine Shield having to be used on a cooldown that is much shorter than it.
Exactly. Divine Shield needed to be used here because if one member falls, that could not only be the keep, but maybe even the core, or yet another keep if they decide to shift away. Here goes KTY. Cool guys don't look at explosions. With 1 Q in the Odin, he manages to melt down the middle keep. Well done by CE. They have a 3-level lead now. Things couldn't go any better for them. And we had our doubts, Tetra, right? We had our doubts about the single tank variant, but Wind and his boys seem to be able to pull it off again and again.
They really do. They look so good right now, as they seem to be in control of this game so much better than they did last game. And as such, they're just grabbing mercenaries, continuing to pile on the pressure. They haven't lost a fort, Kendrick. They've taken down middle keep, and they haven't lost a fort yet this game. Zuyu going to move up and keep that streak up as he begins to clean out this mercenary camp.
Exactly. The Knight camp, of course, needs to be cleaned here by Zuyu. He's doing exactly that. Now, the one way CE can lose this game if they go for any unnecessary team fights in a numbers disadvantage, right? If they get caught here while, for example, Zuyu is still busy clearing top, that would be a nightmare for them. You can really see how 619 is now a lot less aggressive, a lot more reluctant on how he drops the cocoons. So they, of course, are also waiting for the 16. Very important here for Beyond the Game. They are not dead just yet. They still have 2 keeps. And the mid lane at that, of course, allows you to clear the catapults much more easily than, let's say, a side lane. So they definitely have a couple of tools to come back here. They did so in game number 1, where they also had a structural deficit. So the question is, can they do it again?
Z being very patient. They know their opponents now have level 16. They are quite happy to probably wait this game out to level 20 or just punish someone as they move in. 619 was looking for his opportunity, but Zuyu a little bit too fast this time. Luful scouts out. Is 619 going to take a risky cocoon? Cleanse has to be used. Hand of protection. 619 pulls back again, dropped 50%. Thanks to that bigger they are with talent for Tychus, just burning through that first chunk of health.
Big ups, by the way, to Wind on how he manages to always have a shield wall ready. Now, you no longer have 2 stacks here. Instead, you only have 1 with 5 seconds cooldown. Why would you dive into the enemy team? Because the Divine Shield is here, but it was whiffed almost on a low HP tank here. He falls to Tychus anyway, superior range for the win. Lai ends up falling as well. That was a highly questionable engage by 619.
There's the taunt onto the Uther. Down goes Hanzo. Druid is dropped, and LLK is going to be RIP. As never mind, he rolls away. Survive, but he is all that is left. Z runs past the keep, moving on to the core. They have 18 seconds before Anub'arak, and that is more than enough GG! CE takes game number 2 and takes the 1-1 score.
All right, with a reckless engage, 619 trying to turn the tides, relying on the Divine Shield to keep him alive, but unfortunately it was not meant to be this time. It was not enough. CE ties out the series. Whew. Okay, that was close for them. I already thought they would maybe lose this 2-0, giving a chance for SBT and the 1 to maybe pull even here. But of course, with that 1 point, no matter who is going to win game number 4 here of this Tuesday, CE is still going to maintain that top spot by 1 point.
1 point, unless, of course, it is a 1-1 between SBT and the 1, which would be the ideal situation for CE to allow them to hold their lead.
Yeah, but man, what a game. I continue to be amazed by how well Alufal plays in the Genji. Sure, you know, Beyond the Game could have gotten those kills. If they had chained their CCs together a little bit more precisely with better coordination, they could have definitely gotten at least 1 out of those 2 kills. However, we do not want to take anything away from Alufal. I think the way he also chose his flight path, right? In the blink of an eye, he chose the best distance to actually bring as much terrain as possible between himself and his pursuers was also quite admirable. He could have fallen multiple times, X-Strike proving to be quite the nice escape tool, just as well as it was a finishing tool in those later stage team fights. Kudos to him, but I do also want to give kudos to Beyond the Game. I didn't think they were able to take a game at all. That first Sky Temple game was beautiful, once again showing how strong Alex Strasser can be. What is your take of this series, Tetcher, after watching both of those games?
I really enjoy the games from BTG. Like I said, both of them were better than I expected. Even game number 2, where they lost hard, but they still looked better than I expected them to against CE. CE, they're still showing they make mistakes, and they're still showing they make mistakes more often than a team of their caliber should. This is something that needs to continue to be worked on. They are all individually and mechanically some of the best players potentially in the entire Eastern region, potentially in the world. But they need to work on those little mistakes that allow them to lose games to teams like BTG.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're just going to wait a little bit longer